Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I was not expecting to do a reading today, but I was procrastinating. I was meant to be doing yoga and having a shower, and I ended up pulling cards instead. I was getting some stuff through very strongly, and then the message that came out is very clear, which is funny because I've had to restart this reading quite a few times, and there's something about like being silenced or not being able to speak or holding something in, and there's this line that might be the title of this reading, and it's from one of the songs that I was getting through, which is Wildflower, I think, by Lana Del Rey. And the line is, "Here's the deal, because I know you want to talk about it." And so it's like somebody has been waiting for an opportunity to say something, but it feels like quite a lot, because it's almost like not knowing where to start, or um having kind of like mangled speech because you're trying to say multiple things at once, or with the spiral being next to it, it's kind of going around in circles or not getting to the point, or it's coming out really clumsy because I think it's been bottled in for so long. Oh my god, I had this the other day as well. It's funny because I get messages and I don't realize until it comes out in a reading. So I was getting this visual of like someone, you know, when you say you bottle up emotions, or there's things you want to say and you bottle them up. And I was being shown somebody basically pouring liquid into a bottle, but it was like lots of different liquids. So it became all mixed up and like confused. So it's all these different things that someone wanted to say. And when they try and say them, it's coming out really awkward and confused. Awkward, yeah, because that's in the song as well. I grew up awkward and sweet. I'm doing it now. You see how the energy's affecting me? I'm always a bit like this, to be fair, but it's really coming through like this in the reading. I don't know if someone stutters or um it's really difficult to speak about something, is the way it feels. So I was getting through a couple of things. One of them was one of my favourite lines from a Shakespeare play, and it's from Twelfth Night, and it's by the Fool character. Well, it's about the Fool character. One of my favourite characters in it is Olivia, and she's kind of a duchess. She's this rich woman who everybody's trying to court. But everybody wants something from her, right? Maybe this is part of the reading as well, because we have this woman here. It's like she's got money, she's single and she's got money, you know, the Nine of Pentacles. Like everybody wants to marry her, but you know, they might want to marry her for status, or they might want to marry her for money. But again, it doesn't have to be marriage. It could also be something like it could be, I want to be friends with her because she's the popular girl, you know, she's the Regina George, or I want to be friends with her because her daddy's rich. You know, there's so many different ways that could play out. So this is the Olivia character anyway in the reading. You know, she has assets, she has her own thing going on, she's desirable. And so the one person who kind of is quite a true friend to her, who is quite loyal and who really actually genuinely cares about her, and who tries to make her laugh when she's sad and things like this because her dad had died, is this character called I think he's called Feste. And he is her fool, you know, like Henry VIII had a fool. And he's trying to cheer her up. He also calls her Madonna, so I don't know if that's something, because I keep getting Madonna songs coming through. So like Madonna, the biblical Madonna, or maybe somebody calls somebody Madonna as a compliment. Maybe somebody is a mother figure. But he's trying to cheer her up. And this guy who lives in a house called Malvolio, who's always complaining and, you know, always after kind of improving his reputation and his wealth and things. And he fancies himself as marrying kind of Olivia as well. Malvolio's kind of like talking down to the fool and saying like, shoo, and, you know, get out of here, you're a tired fool and all this. And Olivia says, no, let him stay. And the line that was stuck in my head is, there's no harm in an allowed fool, though all he do is rail. So it was coming through this message of maybe people find a certain person is quite foolish. What's interesting as well is the deck kind of split itself and the Fool in reverse came out. It's like he's not a fool. So in that scene in 12th Night, he actually does a bit of a 180. He does a bit of a trick where he basically says that Olivia is the fool. And it's like he's not the fool, right? He's very, very clever with his words. He's very articulate, actually, which is funny because I'm talking about not being able to speak properly. So I think there's a character in this reading who people see them as a fool, and I don't know if it's this woman. I don't know if she's got like different people have different opinions about her. You know, she's foolish. She's a child. She's young. She's naive. You know, don't listen to her. But she's actually not, right? She's actually got a lot to say that she's holding back with this dark matter mystery card. And so there's no harm in an allowed fool, though all he do is rail. It's basically saying you need to let this person speak and get something off their chest. They need to be able to tell their story. They need to be able to express whatever it is that they've been keeping inside, because if we give them a safe space to do it, you know, if we give them a listening ear, or, you know, we just allow them the freedom of speech, you know, they're not doing any harm, you know, they're just getting something off their chest. But it's like if you punish them or push them out, you know, if you push them out into the street and they're still ranting and raving, then other people are going to hear that, and, you know, they might start a bit of a riot. It's kind of the vibe of the reading, although not exactly. I can explain it through the cards when I kind of get to them. But if you think about that, it's kind of like if someone has something to say, you need to give them a place to say it that's kind of like safe and allowed, rather than trying to shut them down, because that's when it's going to do some harm. It's like it's going to come out, but it's going to come out like you have control over where that comes out, kind of thing, you know, whether it comes out publicly or privately. And then the other thing was a song coming through by Lana Del Rey, which I've just mentioned, Wildfire, Wildflower. And I was getting this thing about, it's almost like somebody who's very human, someone who's a bit of a Queen of Wands character, you know, very emotional, perhaps, very artistic, very expressive, very fiery, going into an environment that's more sterile. And maybe that's causing some trouble. This is basically the reading. It's funny because I was getting that and then it's in the reading. And yeah, I'm going to go to the reading now because it'll make sense, and I'll keep using that song. But I was kind of getting this idea of, you know, how everything like Hollywood is getting more and more corporate and it's getting more paint by numbers. It's almost like everything's AI, everything, we've seen everything before. There's 2 movies on this week at the cinema, and I was looking for something to watch. And I was looking at the trailers for these 2 movies, and I was like, they're just like a combination of all the movies that I've seen before. You know, they could have been written by AI. It's like, oh, look, there's the companion movie. You know, it's basically like, oh, look, there's the Mandalorian and Grogu again for the 100th time, you know, that trope. And then there's another one where it was like, oh, standard kids movie, hijinks, stuff happens, but nothing's saying anything, nothing's making a point, where are the humans that are making art because they want to tell a story about who they are or where they've come from or a change that they want to see happen? And so we're getting these kind of like sterile, oh, I'm going to watch that for 10 minutes and laugh and then forget about it movies, where, you know, in the past we had things that lingered, we had things that connected on a soul level and like left their imprint, and that we still think about 20, 30, 40 years later. Like, you know, 1984, right? Like people still reference that now because it had something to say and it was written by a person. And so it's almost like a situation where it could be marriage, because it starts off like Romeo and Juliet. So I don't know if this is kind of a domestic situation, but it could be symbolic for like a workplace or a culture or something like this, where there's a combination happening. It's like this woman's coming into this space with all this fire, and it's upsetting the birds is the way it's coming through. I just saw the birds on this card. It's like people are in a bit of a flap because she's, it's like she's provoking, because the mirror card is here as well. It's like she's reflecting stuff back at them that they haven't thought about or that they don't want to see. You know, it's kind of like these messy human emotions that other people aren't ready to deal with. It's like, no, we like our clinical, sterile corporate environment, actually. Like, we don't know what to do with all your fire. But it's like the fire that makes things relatable, right? There's a connection being made. That's funny, the Connection song by Elastica came through before. A connection is made. It's like it's this fire is provoking, but that's a good thing because it's provoking growth and development rather than a sterile cut and paste paint by numbers situation. It's funny as well because as I'm saying this, I'm thinking about something that's happened kind of like in my life, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can see how that fits. I wasn't intending it that way, but that's how it's kind of come out. So, and again, I don't pull these cards with any specific intention. I've got piles of decks that are combinations of multiple decks. I've got about 10 decks combined, and I shuffle these piles 3 times each. Whichever cards come back out, I put all together and I shuffle again to get the layout of the spread. So the cards come out and I put them in order, and it reads left to right, up, down, kind of thing. Like, I haven't set this up, is what I'm trying to say. So it's funny as well because I didn't intend to do this reading, and here I am, and I've just put a reading up about a different thing that, again, was really inconvenient because I was like, I'm not planning on doing a reading. Why is this coming through now? And it, like, when I checked, it had like 1 view, and I was like, well, I'm just going to trust Spirit, that Spirit can get the message to the person who needs to hear it when they need to hear it. So whether someone clicks on that video in 10 years and they're like, oh, this is my situation right now, you know, I do trust that Spirit is getting me to do these messages because they are going to deliver them at the right place and the right time. Anyway, so we start off with this woman who, she kind of does look like she's gonna get married, or, you know, she's a bridesmaid or something like that. She does look like she's on her way to something, to some kind of event, right? And then because it was followed by a tidy house, clarity and organization. Sorry, I'm just moving around a little bit. I'm trying to get comfy, but I want to be able to see the screen as well. And I'm going to drink some coffee, which is in the song. Hot coffee, hot weather, I'm better with you, she says. Which is really funny because I've put it down, I've put my coffee down next to this fire card, this hearth card, which is in the last reading if you want to go and watch that one as well. And that's why I've made the note, hot fires, right? Hot fires. And then without thinking, I've put my hot coffee down next to it, which is exactly the line from the song. Right, anyway, sorry, I'm very scatty. Again, it's kind of like, it's, the feeling is, because when I'm connecting to a reading, it's like, I'm connecting to the energy of it as well, right? I become the people who are affected by the energy of the reading. And so it's like all this stuff swirling inside and trying to come out all at once. And it's like, it's hard to, you know, if you've got this kind of 3-dimensional jigsaw puzzle brain that can see everything connected, it's really hard to kind of like get it down in a linear order so that you can communicate it to other people. I think maybe that's something to do with that as well. Going back to this, if I can try and focus. So it does look like almost like a Romeo and Juliet situation, you know, these 2 houses united. Because it's these 2 houses coming together, but you can see one looks much more upper class, maybe. It looks like a Tudor house. So this looks like a more wealthy household, and this kind of looks like the witch's hut from the last reading. You know, it's more basic. It's just a wooden kind of like hut building. So I've got this feeling of somebody from a lower social status going into a partnership or union or place that is of a higher social status, is basically what's happening. And then it's kind of like walking through the door. So it's like she's come from this house and she's going to this house sort of thing. And it's like walking through the door and finding the fire's lit, you know, the baby's really fat and happy and well fed, you know, the dog's fat and happy and well fed, you know, everything is warm and inviting and comfortable. in this new place. And now I'm going to show you the last cards that I pulled because it illustrates what's happening here really, really well. I actually pulled this card to clarify the Nine of Pentacles over here at the end of the reading, which is sudden wealth. But underneath that is toil and labour. So it feels like, again, this kind of town, almost town mouse, country mouse thing, or a class difference of this woman has come from maybe not poverty, but definitely from a working class background where, you know, she's perhaps had to really toil and labour. It does appear that she's got some wealth now because she's coming through the Nine of Pentacles towards the end of the reading. Because she does seem to have come into sudden wealth in some sort of way. So again, whether she's like won the lottery or something, or, you know, she's just been very lucky in life, or maybe she worked really, really, really hard to gain that wealth and get her out of that situation. But, you know, you can see that difference, right? You can see the difference between, you know, this poor kind of, this is a workhouse environment. So I'm from Manchester in the UK, which was an industrial city, and we had it was built on the backs of the cotton industry. And so, you know, while people were being exploited by the transatlantic slave trade and to kind of make and grow the cotton, people here were being, the working class were being exploited in these horrific working conditions in these factories, where, you know, young children would be employed to run in between these machines that were, you know, heavy machinery. They had these big clanking things that would move. They would have to run through before the shuttle came and crushed them. And there were so many workplace injuries of like people getting their arms crushed and losing a finger and things like this because of these industrial machines that were not safe. And this is where like we had to have people like William Wilberforce coming in and kind of, you know, talking about, you know, labor laws and, you know, children should be in school and all these kinds of things, you know, like children shouldn't be being shoved up chimneys, getting soot in the lungs and being run like rats through these horrible machines. So do you see what I mean? It's like, it's almost like if you come from quite a privileged place and you don't think about where stuff comes from, you know, you just go into a shop and you buy a new designer handbag, but you don't think about the people that might be exploited to you know, make that handbag in some third world country. Or, you know, you go out and you buy the latest phone or the latest tech device, but you don't think about the children who are being sent into mines to mine the lithium. I'm saying lithium because lithium specifically is in that song by Lana Del Rey. She says, with lithium came poetry. And she's talking about being ill, and she's talking about, she says, I've been running on star drip IVs for so long, I wouldn't know what hot fire was, hot coffee, hot weather, I'm better with you. So I don't know if this is kind of like a Cinderella situation where, you know, she's married into wealth, or she's maybe formed some sort of partnership that is turning out to be quite prosperous for her. But she's come from this, right? She values this because she hasn't always had the warm fireplace. She hasn't, you know, she's been cold, she's been hungry, she's been tired, you know, her feet have ached and her fingers have bled. And, you know, to have the privilege of sitting in front of a fire and having nothing to do, it's funny because, like, I don't know, like if I'm thinking about Cinderella now, right? You know, she sits in front of the fire. You know, she knows the true value of this. You know, she knows where. And it's like she knows how the money's made as well. You know, she knows that, especially if you think about capitalism, to have a huge amount of wealth, it's taking it out of the pockets of other people, right? It's to be someone who has, you have to have the people who have not in a capitalist pyramid scheme society. You know, it's not socialism, it's not communism, it's not shared wealth, it's the 1% versus the 99% is the way it looks to me. So anyway, she goes into this place that seems to be, there's a community here. You know, it's not just two people, there's a group here. You know, like I say, it's like two families coming together, two households coming together. And with the Ten of Water, this is community. This is a lot of people who are very happy together. And it actually comes through with harmony and serene. It's harmonious. It's peaceful. It's everybody gets along. It's kind of a paradise, right? It's kind of idyllic. To go into this place where, you know, maybe everybody's very, if they're not overly wealthy, they're at least comfortable, and it's peaceful. Nobody's shouting, nobody's screaming, nobody's drunk, nobody's maybe they are, you know. You don't know what happens behind closed doors, which is really funny actually, because you do actually have the closed door here. It's literally looking like a closed door to me. That's the message it's coming through with. So it's like, but this feels like this place, this new home, this new workspace where everybody's happy and harmonious, you know, nobody has a care in the world. And yet she's walking into this place and, you know, it feels very loved. It feels like she's been invited in, she's loved, she's been invited to join this harmony, and she's appreciative of it. But it's funny because she comes in with this dark matter. And what's really strange is when this card came out, let me just show you an example here. So you can see I've got so many different packs that I'm using. There's 4 packs in here. But when this card came out, instead of coming out and flipping onto the table, it came out, flipped, and went back in the deck. It like landed back in, flipped. And so I had to go through and find what it was. And when cards do that, when they hide back in the deck, flipped over, I know there's something secretive about it, right? So even before I saw the card, I was getting this message of, this is a secret, this is hidden, this is something, you know, unseen. And I pulled it out and it's literally mystery dark matter, and she has her mouth covered. So I had the message before I saw the card, and the card confirmed the message. So it's like she has something. So I'm just getting another thing there. I'm just going to move the cards so that when I talk about that, I can remember. So yeah, it's like she comes into this place that's really, really happy, right? The Ten of Water. Let me show you this way because it looks a little bit more visually able to, because the Ten of Water, the Ten of Cups is happy community, right? And then with harmony and serene. But it's like she's coming in and it's like she can't speak. It's like the Little Mermaid. You know how her voice is taken away? She can't tell people where she's come from. So it feels to me like, I don't know whether she's being told not to say something. It's like, come into this place, but don't rock the boat. You know, don't talk about your past. Don't talk about the bad things, is the way it's coming through. Or whether she just feels like if she does speak, if she does share her past, then it's going to upset this harmony, this lovely, these good vibes of this place. You know, it's like she almost feels like there's something as well about, like, you know, like the fire coming in with her. It's like she opens the door and the leaves blow in almost, but she's bringing the fire. So I'm really, the Queen of Cups isn't here, but I'm really getting the Queen of Fire. The Queen of Fire isn't here, but I'm really getting that energy. It's like she's messy, she's human, she's volatile, she's emotional, she's creative, she's like a firework, right? And so she's having to mute herself, she's having to you know, stand in the corner quietly because she doesn't want to start a fire in the place, you know, because she's come from fire. Let me show you this card. So it's like she's coming in, and you can see as well, it's like the picture's covering her mouth. It's like she's holding up a picture to say, look, this is where I've come from. This is my home. My home's on fire. You know, it's kind of like somebody coming from, as a refugee from another country and coming to somewhere that's at peace, but they're like, well, this is my background. This is, you know, this is what my home looks like. This is who I am. This is my upbringing. And so here as well, like, you know, this is what she's walked into, and everybody's like, it's almost like living in a bubble of comfort. You know, they haven't looked out the window. They don't know what's happening outside. They've just got this. And then outside is this. Is the way it's coming through very, very strongly. And so, like I say, it's like she's trained not to rock the boat. Let me talk about, where did I put my phone? It's in my pocket. Let me talk about the Wildflower song, because again, this is kind of the feeling of somebody talking about the past. And it was coming through so strongly while I was pulling these cards. Wildflower, Wildfire is it's called by Lana Del Rey. Definitely recommend going and listening to it. So she says, here's the deal, because I know you want to talk about it. But it's like somebody from this place is going up to her and saying, here's the deal, because I know you want to talk about it. It's like, I can see you've got something to say. I can see, you know, it's like you're telling me with your eyes that you've got something to say. Like here as well, it's like, I can see you've got something to say, right? She's not being heard, perhaps. Here's the deal, because I know you want to talk about it. I promise you like a million tomorrows. What I can promise is I'll lie down like a bed of wildflowers. It's funny, we've got these like flowers and hearts. And I'll always make the sheets smell like gardenias wild at your feet, and I'll nourish you hazily. So it's almost like this is the prince coming in with the marriage proposition, right? It's like, I promise you I'll look after you. I promise you'll be safe here, or something like that. But then it's like she's coming back and saying, baby, I've been running on stardust. I hear it as IVs. I've been running on stardust IVs for so long. I wouldn't know what hot fire was. Hot fire, hot weather, hot coffee. I'm better with you. It's strange, but it's true, darling. We do have this Two of Cups coming at the end of the reading. And she says, basically, I promise not to turn into a wildfire, right? It's like this might be where I've come from, but it's like, I promise I won't bring the fire to you or something. It's like, I promise I won't, I don't know, I'll just read the words. Not to turn into a wildfire, to light up your night with only my smile and nothing that burns. Baby, I'll be like a wildflower. But I'm hearing like wallflower. I'll be a wallflower, right? I'll stand there and not say anything. I'll live on sheer willpower. I'll do my best never to turn into something that burns, burns, burns like the others, baby, burns, burns, burns. But again, it could be that the person who's inside this place, because again, there's two, right? Like two dragons, you know, two of Cups. So it's like there's someone saying, you're safe here. You know, you may have come from this, but come inside and I promise you'll be safe. You know, I promise I won't ever hurt you like the people have hurt you before. I promise I won't, you know, you don't, it's like somebody coming in and they're ready to fight. There's a Halsey song where she says something like, we're in the living room and I put up my fists and I say I'm only joking, but the truth is this: I've never seen a mouth that I would kill to kiss. Beautiful stranger, here we are. I'm in your arms, and I know beautiful strangers only come along to do me wrong, right? It's kind of like everyone who's ever promised me the world before has hurt me. You know, everybody's out for themselves. Everybody's a liar. You know, it's like she can't trust anyone. And, you know, is having to pretend to be something else. I wonder if this is like a plot in Bridgerton or something like that, because normally a lot of the time I'll get a reading that's really interesting with a really clear story. And, yeah, it just turns out to be the plot of some movie or something that everybody's watching that I'm unaware of. And then I watch it and I'm like, oh. But then she says, again, here's the deal, because I know you want to talk about it. You say there's gaps to fill, so here's the deal. And it's like she's talking about her past. So she says, my father never stepped in when his wife would rage at me, so I ended up awkward but sweet. Later than hospitals and still on my feet, comfortably numb, but with lithium came poetry. I don't know why that line is really getting me. With lithium came poetry. Because again, it's like the humanity of it, you know. There's another brilliant line in Lana Del Rey's music where she says, she talks about being a muse, and a friend says to her, you can't be a muse and be happy too. You can't blacken the pages with Russian poetry and be happy. Baby, I've been running on star drip IVs for so long, I wouldn't know how cruel the world was. So again, it's like this person is saying to her, you know, she's come in, and maybe this person's been sick, maybe they're housebound, right? Maybe they're bedridden. So they're saying, you know, I don't know how cruel the world was because I'm stuck here in this bed, you know, And that line where it's like, with lithium came poetry, because I think about lithium batteries, right? And, you know, the metals and things that are used for phones and the internet. And it's kind of like, you know, maybe somebody's phone is their access to the real world in some sort of way. But then there's always also this kind of like shutting in. It's like, come in and I'll shut and lock the door behind you. Like, I'll lock my fortune away, with the fortune's wheel being underneath that. Like the fortune is behind closed doors. It's like locking yourself in the bank vault, but the bank vault is, or the bank, right? If you think about very like luxury banks that have a very rich clientele, you know, they've got these lush sofas and, you know, marble walls and things like that. It's like, lock yourself in here where all the money and comfort is. And then this is also with this card here, which is middle world, and you can see kind of the fire rolling in. It's kind of like, maybe this is somebody who's middle class, for example. It's like they've sealed themselves in and they think they're safe. And then this card next to it here as well, it's like, we have everything we need, we're happy, this community, like, we're happy inside this bubble that we've created. But then she seems to be coming in and saying, but no, the fire is approaching. It's like Birnam Wood will come to Dunstable, you know, like the Macbeth line. It's like the fire is getting closer, people are getting angrier. You know, the next thing you know, it's going to be on your doorstep. It's also making me think of a computer game called Expedition 33, which has a bit of a fire theme, and it's kind of set in kind of like French history a little bit. It's kind of a fantasy version of French history. So this idea of like revolution, it's like the revolution's on our doorstep. And it's almost like saying, because she's from this place, she's from these people, it's like she knows why they're angry. You know, she knows what it's like to be them, to be born in the fire. And it's like she's trying to warn them, a bit like, you know, like how Ariel, she's lost her voice at the end of the movie, she goes to try and warn them, but the witch is singing with her voice. And again, it's like with the sorcerer and fire underneath that, it's like being inside and looking out the window and being able to see the fire, because it's almost like Cassandra or something, you know, it's like a premonition, or somebody who can see the future. And maybe it's that thing of like, when you see the past, you see the future, because, you know, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. So it feels like the people who are in the bubble, who have maybe perhaps all their life they've had wealth and privilege and comfort, and, you know, have never had to, you know, they've probably worked in some sort of way, but maybe kind of not in the same way as like the toil and labor, like working from the factories, living paycheck to paycheck, you know, not being able to afford your next meal kind of work. You know, it's a different flavor of work. And so, yeah, like with the dark matter and this, you know, this show of love, and this came out with flowers, right? You know, harmony, flowers. It feels like there's genuinely like love and appreciation here. There's perhaps gift giving, you know, there's displays of affection happening. You know, it does feel very, very genuine, you know, that this person is being invited into this place. It kind of could be something as well, like, you know, maybe there's two families that are joining together, like, because the parents are getting married, right? And maybe one family is moving up in social status, but they're bringing in, you know, a child into the family, and it's kind of like maybe that child's getting adopted by the wealthier family, and they're saying, you know, anything you need, you know, we love you, this is not being taken away from you, you're staying here now, you are part of the family. They're doing everything they can to make this person feel accepted, but there's something in them because they've had rejection in the past, and they've had pain and hurt in the past, where, you know, it's like they can't trust it, they can't accept it, they can't settle, you know. It's like, I don't know, because like I say, there's nothing wrong with the place. The place is wonderful, the place is comfortable, the place has all these happy, harmonious, shiny, happy people holding hands, you know. It's lovely there. But it's like, because it's got the witness card, it's like, but I've seen things. I've seen things that I can't talk about, you know? And it's like, I can't talk about it because as soon as I open my mouth, as soon as I share the pain of my past, it's like the illusion's broken, right? The happy bubble is broken because I'm getting the mirror cracked from side to side. The doom is upon us, cried the Lady of Shalott. It's almost like she doesn't want to upset the harmony. She likes it there. You know, it is comfortable, it is serene, but she has seen things, she has witnessed things, she's the witness. And I feel like it, because that comes with upper world, which is, it's heaven, right? It's angelic. It could also be, if I'm reading this as middle class, middle world is middle class, there could be someone, you know, even from a social status above that. You know, it could be angels, it could be God, but it could also be somebody who's like from the 1%, you know, the upper world. It could be a king, you know, somebody who's, you know, almost above it all, almost untouchable, who is coming in, because can you see there's two birds with the heads together? And then this was clarified by the Two of Cups as well. It does really feel like, if you ever watch Sand Tarot, she talks about these back-to-back connections where, you know, you don't even have to look at the person, you can just intuitively feel like what they're thinking, sort of like that twin connection. It's here as well with the two dragons. It's funny because I knew the dragons were going to come out because, well, I didn't think about it until they came out. But when I was kind of picking my joss stick, I've got a huge box of Palo Santo, and I've only got one box left of my dragon blood, it's called, but the dragon blood is my favourite. And I was like, I really want to use the dragon blood, but it can be a little bit devilish, right? It can be a little bit of a strong energy. It's not everybody's cup of tea, you know, dragon energy. It's ancestral, it's powerful, it's neither good or bad, it just is its own thing. And I was like, I don't know if I want to bring that into the reading, but again, it's that thing of like, I don't know if I want to bring my dragon, the devil on my shoulder into this environment kind of thing. But I did, I lit the dragon thing, and then I've got dragons in the reading because there's a chance that they wouldn't have come out at all, right? They're in this. See the ones that are the dragon cards, but you know, I've got all these other cards in there as well. You know, so the probability, the chance that they'd come out, they don't come out in every reading. You know, sometimes I don't get any dragons at all for weeks and weeks and weeks, and yet here they are and they're together. So it's almost like, again, if this was like a storyline in something like Bridgerton, it's like she's coming from it. I think it is a storyline in Bridgerton. I'm sure I've seen a trailer and there's a girl who looks like maybe she's culturally from a similar place to this girl. She's got the same look about her. So it's almost like, I don't watch Bridgerton, I don't know, I've just remember seeing like a bit of a advertising thing for it. So it's like she's coming from this working class background, you know, to a place of privilege. But it's like maybe the man she's marrying has been ill for a long time. Maybe he's been bedridden, so he's not been to all the parties and balls that everybody else has been to. You know, maybe all he's had is time to think, or maybe he's done a lot of reading, or maybe he's done a lot of research, or he's spoke to people online. So it's like maybe he can also see, maybe there's something, maybe they've both suffered, right? And so the dragons to me are looking like, I'll explain exactly what I'm getting. So I'm going to use dog and dragon interchangeably, right? So you can see it as two dragons, or you can see it as two dogs. So it's kind of like the door opening and she walks in with her dragon or dog. Let's say dog. Like she walks in with her dog and he's got a dog. And it's like the two dogs instantly become best friends. You know when that happens, when you meet someone else who's got a dog and like the dogs are just kind of like running around and they're so happy because they're like having the best time together. So it's like maybe these two people both have dogs, right? And they're like, oh yeah. But and it's 11. Oh, look as well. Oh, look. We've got like 11, like 1. So, and 1 there as well. So I'm getting 2 become 1 by Spice Girls. So it's like a perfect match energetically. you know, it's kind of like there is this back-to-back connection. It's like our dogs get along and so do we, or we've like spiritually we're both born, you know, it could even be like you know, Chinese New Year, like Chinese zodiac, where you're like house of the dog, house of the dragon. I'm a dog in the Chinese zodiac, but this is like two people who've got like dragon energy. So yeah, it's like they are a very harmonious match, and the whole place is harmonious. Like I say, it's just this thing about not being able to talk about the fire outside. It's almost the same thing of like, as well, of like don't discuss politics around the dinner table, you know, like if you're at a dinner party or you're having Christmas dinner or something, don't bring up, what is it, politics, religion, or something else, because you know, you bring the fire outside to the table, then you know, people start arguing. It feels a little bit like that. You can see it all burning inside. It's like churning inside her. Can you see, like, here's the fire, and then they've got this thing as well. It's like all churning up inside her, but her mouth, her lips are sealed. It's like she can't talk about what she's witnessed, right? The witness what she's witnessed. And so after dark matter is the spiral, which again talks about, you know, it could be somebody's mental health is spiraling, or, you know, this person can predict that a situation is going to spiral, because again, it's this feeling of like, I can see the fire coming. I can see the protest getting closer to our doorstep, something like that. And then what's really interesting on that is like the whale song, right? It's like, because they associate kind of like whale and dragon energy with these kind of like big ancestral energetic guardians or protectors. It's like an ancestor in spirit coming in and kind of like, I don't know if it's like quelling the fears, putting out the fire. It's kind of like, you don't have to worry about fires here. I know you were injured in that factory fire, but we have a sprinkler system, you know? It's like, if a fire happens here, we just throw water on it. It's like, it's gone. It's not an issue, kind of thing. Something like that. I don't know if there's like reassurance happening. But again here, like with the sweat lodge, can you see how she's like on her own? Is that a dragon as well? I don't think I've ever noticed that before. Like this shadow, like her shadow's a dragon, because like here she is with her dragon behind her. I don't know, it could just be somebody who's got a very strong spirit, you know, somebody who's because the child card is here, like they look like a child on the surface, or they seem quite, again, the fool's in reverse. It's like they seem foolish or they seem childlike. Perhaps it's that thing of like, when you are in a very corporate environment, or when you are in a place that has a lot of airs and graces, you know, like if I was going to have a dinner party with King Charles, right, you would have expected behaviors, but a child doesn't always understand those kind of social rules. So it's kind of like, you know, they're just being told like, oh, you know, you're in the wedding, you have to be the bridesmaid, you have to be the flower girl, but you can't speak when they're getting married. It's something like that. It's like the child just wants to speak, right? They don't understand. So it feels a little bit like this person is going into this place and it feels very stuffy to them. Again, it feels very harmonious. It's like everybody else loves it there. This person likes it there. It's comfortable, but it might be the sort of place where you can only be there for a certain amount of time before you start sweating, right? Because it's like, because they're not allowed to be themselves. It's almost like someone who, I'm a chatterbox, right? I put my foot in it all the time. I always say the wrong thing eventually. And so it's like going somewhere and not being allowed to say something, and it being really, really hard not to just blurt it out. It feels really childlike all of a sudden. So it's like in there, it's like a stressful environment, because it's not, it could be the sort of thing of like, you know, if you, like me, and you're from a background where, you know, I grew up in a pub, right, where everybody was like drunk all the time. And if you had a problem with someone, you know, you'd say it, you know, it's like say it to my face kind of thing. And, you know, you might have a row, you might have an argument, you know, but the next day it's all blown over and, you know, you're friends again, you know, you're drinking together again, that sort of thing. And so it's that thing of, some people think it's healthier to be upfront, to just say it, to have a row, you know, and get it all out in the open, and then the fire burns itself out and everything's fine again, you know, the air clears. Where, you know, there's other situations and other families and cultures that are more don't rock the boat, you know, bite your lip, you know, don't cause a fuss. But when you're in a situation like that and you're holding all that fire within, you know, all that anger within, when everything's bottled up, you know, it's more prone to being more like a volcano. It explodes and it does damage. And, you know, maybe those relationships can't be repaired again because it's like too much has been said all at once, and it was unexpected. Where, like, when it's expected, and again, it goes back to that line, there's no harm in a loud fool, though all they do is rail. Rail means sort of like rail against the machine kind of things, like be angry, sort of be vocal, shout, street preach, whatever. It's like, let people get it off the chest, let people be angry, let people be fiery. Because where they come from, you know, again, it's kind of like you have a row and then your best friend's 10 minutes later. You know, you see a dog and you're like, oh, look at that dog. Everything's forgotten because this person's culture is open and expressive, and it's like no hard feelings afterwards. You know, better out than in kind of thing. And again, I sort of feel like this, the thing as well with this card, because I clarified it with the Nine of Pentacles, like she can walk. She doesn't have to be there. She can leave. So normally I see it as her going in, but I'm seeing it as her leaving. So I don't know if she does seem to be in a very privileged position where she can come and go, right? So she can come in into this environment. It's like she's got the keys to the house. She can come in, she can have her spa day, she can spend time with these people, but she can leave afterwards. She can go home. Makes me think of like, you know, other people's kids. Like, it's better to be an auntie than be a parent, because if you're the mum, you've kind of got to do all the laundry, you've got to deal with the tantrums. You know, if you're the auntie, you get to have fun with the kid and then give them back. Like, you get to do all the fun stuff without any of the hard work. You know, depending on how you approach your job as an auntie or an uncle, you know. So it's kind of like she, you know, she's with the Nine of Pentacles. It's like she has her own money now. Again, it's like she's like won the lottery or something. So she's like, I don't need this job, is the way it's coming through. I've got my own money. I've had my glow up. I've got my own thing going on. Or it's like, you know, being inside and like having to go outside and just like scream and get it off your chest, or have an argument with your partner outside and then go back in. But she's on her own, right? She's like, she can leave, but because she can leave, because she can go between this place, you know, because she can go between this place that's comfortable and harmonious and serene, and go outside to where the fires are. And by fires, I sort of being like, again, a fiery community, you know, sort of think about the movie The Titanic, where Rose is from a wealthy family. She's born from privilege. But she meets Jack, and she goes from like the stuffy dinner parties on the top deck to kind of like dancing with the Irish on the bottom deck, on the lower decks. And so she goes between those two places. And so because she can do that, she can advocate for people, right? So, you know, you wouldn't, I mean, I don't know, I think the royal family do a pretty good job of getting out there and speaking to the people, but obviously everything's very orchestrated. You know, the people that they speak to are kind of like handpicked. The crowd is controlled. But this is somebody who can go, I want to say there's somebody who can't do that, right? They can't go out and mix amongst the people. Again, they could be bedridden, or they're stuck in a house, or they're just stuck inside their own castle, right? They can't leave, it's not safe, or, you know, it'll be a health risk, something like that. You know, they're not used to the fires, they're not from the fires, so the fire is something that could be very destructive to them. But she can come and go. She's independent. So even though they've joined together, it's kind of like she's not financially, and it could be that she got money through marriage, but she's financially independent now. So yeah, it's like she can go and mix with the fiery people and come back, and it's like she brings the fire back in with her, because I'm really seeing it's like the fire's blowing in. It's like she brings, I don't know, maybe she comes in and she's a little bit drunk, a little bit angry. But with dark matter, it really feels like she's being, either someone's suppressing her speech. We're not talking about it here and now. You know, we only do affection here. We only do affection here. We only do gift giving. We only do good vibes, harmony and serene. We don't do the fire stuff here. If you want to do the fire stuff, you need to go outside. But again, she's coming in as a representative because now she has wealth. Now she's independent. She can come in and say, look, you know, you can close your door, you can lock your wealth away. We can work together with the Three of Pentacles. But the people outside are angry. The people outside, you know, the children are dying in the factories. All this wealth and privilege that you have is because the people suffer. You know, the lithium battery that you have in, you know, in your phone. I don't know if it's lithium. I don't know. It's just because it says lithium in the song, right? You know, the battery that powers your mobile. I know it says cell phone. That's American, so there could be something about America. You know, the lifestyle that you have comes from the hard work of others. And those people are getting angry, seems to be the message that's happening here. But again, it's not a threat. It's not that she's coming in threatening people. She's not. She's coming in with roses and flowers and love. But I think it's like because she loves them that she's trying to warn them. You know, the people are angry and, you know, they're approaching. Where's that card gone? You know, I'm looking out the window. I can see the fire coming. Also, something here, this again could just be, maybe it's for one person who's been studying it or something, and I don't know why it's coming through like this. It could be something about firefighters specifically, but there's an ancient Greek play, I think it's by Aristophanes, and it's Lysistrata. I say everything wrong, I pronounce everything wrong because I'm book read, right? I'm book smart. I didn't learn through being in a privileged environment where people just randomly name dropped Greek literature. Like, I'm not from those circles. I read about it in books, so I don't know how to pronounce everything. I studied Latin, not Greek. So in the Lysistrata, there's these old men and old women, and I think the old men are getting quite angry and starting fires, so the old women turn up with buckets of water to throw on the fire of the old men. And it's like a comedy scene. It's kind of like making fun of the old people, but I don't know if there's something about that in there. First breath, beginner's mind. Under that, it's like all these bubbles coming together, right? Maybe it's people from different backgrounds, different temperaments all coming together. And with the Three of Pentacles showing up, it's like they all have to figure out how to work together. You know, globally, collectively, we all have to figure out how to work together. And it's like with the upper world ending the reading, it's like a great, a good kind of thing. It's very Aquarian energy. It's very angelic. It's like, it's almost like two heads are better than one sort of thing. It could be that these two people butt heads though as well. You know that thing of like sometimes when people are too similar, because there's so much stuff, right? There's these two birds, there's these two, there's two dragons next to each other. There's all these twos. Two here on this card, two here on this card. It could be that there's two people who are a bit too similar. You know how, again, going back to kind of like dogs, you know, they run around together, they have fun together, but they scrap a little bit, don't they? They kind of like play fight, they rough and tumble. So maybe these two people do butt heads. Maybe they do fall out. Again, maybe they're both from difficult backgrounds. Maybe these are two people from difficult backgrounds, you know, where they came from a culture where you just say it, you get it off your chest, you say it like it is. And again, for me, I really need people to be upfront. I need people to spell it out for me. I need people to be direct. I'm not very good with subtleties, right? Because for me, being honest and truthful is a sign of respect. Where there are other cultures where, you know, being very honest is seen as disrespectful. It's kind of like, don't say those things, that's rude. So it's just a cultural difference with what people find respectful, and what people don't find disrespectful. I talk about King Lear and things like that a lot, and Richard II. People in power need to be careful about who they have around them, because if they have yes men around them who just say that everything they say is a good idea and stroke their ego, and I'm scared of getting fired, so I'm going to tell you what you want to hear, eventually that leads to the downfall, like Richard II and King Lear, because the bad ideas aren't challenged. And so you get people like that in positions of power, like CEOs, and they make a mess of a company and then they leave, and it's kind of like they get another CEO. But the good rulers, the good people in positions of power, they know there's no harm in a loud fool. They give people a voice. They listen. They listen to criticism, and they listen to feedback, and they listen, even if somebody's angry or being rude and disrespectful, the question is why. And so the good leader will see that as a gift, to open the door and say, come in and tell me what the problem is, and to have that person rant and rave, to understand that it's mutually beneficial, because then the leader can understand what the problem is and the person on the other side feels heard. And so a collaboration can be made. But if you say, especially if you're from a privileged position where, social graces, the rules of conduct of either the business world or the upper echelons of society. I think the upper echelons are actually at a disadvantage, but that's a story for another day. Those social rules that come with a certain environment, if somebody comes in and they don't know them, and so it's like, we're not going to listen to that person because they don't know their fish fork from the salad fork. It's like, what's such a stupid reason to not listen to someone? I don't know. But the thing is, like, whatever's going on with this place and whatever's going on with these two people, it's like peas in a, I got like two, something like two of the same cup, but it's like cut from the same cloth and peas in a pod. There is some shared experience between them, and they get each other, and this leads to prosperity. Now, this fish card, it means literally prosperity, and you've got all this fortune around. You've got Fortune's wheel here, next to the Three of Earth, which is collaboration. You've got sudden wealth. There is something about going in a different direction, right? About being unique, about being original, about creative ideas. And that fire energy is creation energy, right? It's pure creation energy. So if you've got a Queen of Wands walking in, even if she's disruptive, if she's got a lot of good ideas, it's like it's a gold mine. And so there's something about turning direction or changing direction and going an unexpected way. So because if I go back to what I was saying before about Hollywood and Netflix and this, CGI and not CGI, generative AI, and how everything feels like it's just a rewrite of something we've already seen, and everything's boring. There's nothing new under the sun, Horatio. It becomes sterile and it becomes robotic and it's not human anymore. And then you don't make any kind of connection with it. And it's just kind of like, oh yeah, that was fun for 5 minutes, but what's next? Or are you creating something that's, maybe controversial, something that provokes people, something that stays with you, something that makes you feel uncomfortable at times. I think about things like, The Shining, such an uncomfortable movie, but an absolute cult classic, and I think about I don't know if everybody will know this, it's a bit more of an obscure reference, but it was big news recently. So there's a YouTuber called Markiplier who used a lot of his own money, his own fortune that he'd made through doing things like YouTube and kind of like television projects and things like this. And he invested a huge amount of his own money into making a movie called Iron Lung, which was an absolute work of like pure passion, like a passion project. And it was based on this game that he'd played that was like such a like random game that not many people had heard of. But, you know, collectively, him and his team turned it into something that was quite gripping. And it did very, very well at the box office. It beat the Melania movie. For a while, it was doing better than like another blockbuster movie. And, you know, his fans really showed up. And I went and watched it. And I was like, I would watch that again. Like, you know, it was better than my expectations. And so, and I'm not saying it was the best movie ever, but it does have the vibe of a like a cult classic, which I think passion projects do because they're so human. You know, because that connection's made, it leaves something with you. I'm trying to think, it's like I mentioned 1984, you know, there's things that they're not for everyone, you know, there's things that, you know, some people can find quite repellent, but that have enough people that love it. You know, the Labyrinth movie with David Bowie, that didn't do very well originally when it came out at the box office, I believe. Like, I think it was considered to be a failure. And Jim Henson, I think, died thinking that movie had flopped. But now it's such an iconic movie, right? It's like in so many people's hearts because it is this coming of age story that is a bit uncomfortable at places. You know, this older guy with this younger girl, but it's saying something. It's making a point, you know, about a girl who's coming of age and starting to experience romantic feelings for people sometimes that aren't appropriate, and figuring those things out and going on that journey and finding that, you know, independence and I don't know, going on that hero's journey of a teenage girl kind of thing. So yeah, like I say, with this fish card, it does talk about wealth and prosperity comes from going against the grain, from swimming upstream when everybody else is swimming downstream. Because if there's a million movies about a superhero, but there's one movie about a guy who wants to be a superhero but keeps on failing, and, you know, his life is a struggle, but he has good intentions and somehow he manages to save the day anyway, even though he's not a superhero and he's just a guy. You know, it turns the trope on its head and it's saying something different and it becomes something that you feel very warm and fuzzy and affectionate about. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, do something different seems to be the message. Something here as well, the child and portal. This is making me think about, I was doom scrolling on TikTok and a TikTok popped up and it was this guy who, I got the vibe that he worked in games, from the things he was saying and what he was talking about. And he was talking about how he was watching this video of this guy playing the computer game Portal. Now, if you're not familiar with it, you have a portal gun. So it's a gun that shoots portals. And you have, I think it's like a blue one and an orange one. So you have two portals and you can put the blue one here and the orange one here. And then you can go through here and out here or through here and out here. So basically the idea is like you've got two and you place two down and you have an end, and then you have like, you can go through the portal. But he didn't seem to understand that you had to switch colour to place the second portal. So he just kept moving the blue portal and he couldn't figure it out and he was really confused. And the guy who was like reacting to this video who worked in computer games was like, is this person trolling kind of thing? Like, and I think it's like, because he had an assumption about how the game mechanic worked. He already knew how the game mechanic worked. So he assumed that it was easy to understand, but different people understand things differently. And I'm the sort of person who, I'm not very good at reading tutorials in computer games. I find UI, the layout of computer games, quite confusing. I just kind of spam buttons until I figure out what to do. And so being someone like that myself, I know how I could see how that game could have been redesigned with a better UI that made it clear that you had two colors to toggle through. You know, you could have made that visually with color much clearer which one you were toggling. And again, it's that thing of like, if you know, you know, but if you don't know, are people calling you a fool? Are people calling you stupid because they haven't made it accessible to you? There's something like that about it. And he was really derogatory. And I saw my ass and I went into his comments and I was like, I could actually tell you how you could redesign that UI to make it more accessible, but I won't because you've got a really bad attitude and I think it stinks. Something like that. And then later on I was talking about it and I Googled who this guy was. And I think he was like a big computer game developer, like a guy who's pretty big in the industry. I can't even remember what game he'd made, but he was like, he'd made a big game, right, that was really popular. And I thought, well, that's just arrogance, right? Making fun of the guy that doesn't understand a game rather than saying, why doesn't he understand it? What could we do to improve our design to make it more accessible for more people, to make it more intuitive? And I was like, well, that's the sign of a bad designer if you're just going to make fun of people who don't get it, right? It's like old school gamers who are like, they gatekeep games. Like, you know, you can't play this because you didn't play the other 10 games. You know, it's kind of, you can make things good and accessible. You can make things appealing to both new people and the old crowd. But so many companies don't do that because so many companies are run by people who don't understand games or who are arrogant. And, you know, that is their downfall. Because how much more games would sell if they were accessible to more people, you know? But again, you don't have to make everything appeal to everyone. You can make something that's a bit of a cult classic. You can make something that is perfect for a small amount of people and, you know, will become a cult classic and something that's legendary, I guess. So yeah, The Child and the Portal, to me, with mirrors, it was this thing of like me being quite naive, because the child is someone who's naive. So again, I'm talking about myself, but it could be a situation that's coming up for somebody where it's kind of like the child character who's very naive, sees a situation and just kind of like says something without realizing who somebody is. But with mirrors, there's something about portal and mirrors, right? You know, if you think about, you know, Alice in Wonderland, like the original book that I read was called Alice Through the Looking Glass, and she went through the mirror into the Wonderland dimension. The mirror was a portal. So it's something about like self-reflection being an opportunity or an opening with portal, the child, and mirrors. Or maybe somebody just knows how to do like mirror work and I don't know, that kind of thing. Right, I am going to get a song to close out this reading. Oh, I don't know if I got up to this with because I turned my phone back on. So she says, I promise not to turn into a wildfire to light up your night with my smile and nothing that hurts. Baby, I run like a wildflower. I live on sheer willpower. It's like somebody, again, it's someone who comes from this environment. I live on sheer willpower. I promise that nothing will burn you like the others, baby, burn, burn, burn. It's you from who I learn. There is something about that. The thing that I was saying about before where I kind of like split the deck and I was like, oh, there's something about that. Because it's with moderation. It's like you know, like moderators, because I keep talking about computer games. You know how moderators are the people who will be in like chat. So I don't know if everybody's familiar with this. So if you do something like Twitch, which is a live streaming service, so it's like you go onto Twitch and people often play computer games and people can chat in the comments of this live stream. Most people understand what a live stream is, but then you have like the live stream moderators, right? And they tend to be people who are quite pally with the creator or, you know, working for the creator. And again, they're in the bubble. And so somebody might come in with a criticism or someone might come in with something that's a bit like of a left field comment. And the moderators can sometimes be a little bit too quick on the ban button, and it can cause problems for them. It can come back and bite them in the ass, basically. And that's what I'm seeing here with moderation. It's like, you see how the horns come back and he's on fire now. So there seems to be something about moderation, about like less is more sometimes. Don't come down too hard with the banhammer. There's no harm in an allowed fool, though all he do is rail. It's kind of like if somebody's got something to say, if somebody's passionate about something, and they come in and they've got something to say, the passion is a good thing. It means they're invested. It means that they're that they're worked up about something for a reason. Engage with them, listen to them, find out what's the source of the problem, what's underneath it all, rather than banning them and being like, I'm going to shut the door on that person. I don't want to hear it. I only want to hear from the people who love this thing that I'm doing. I only want to hear from my fans. I don't want to hear from the critics. Because again, it's kind of like, again, talking about like the French Revolution, right? Let them eat cake. I don't think she really said that, but the idea is like, they didn't understand that there was no food. It wasn't just a shortage of bread. It was a shortage of grain, and it was a shortage. People were starving, and so because they didn't listen, the French Revolution happened. Where if they'd have listened and been more engaged with what was going on in the public, they could have, addressed it. So it's kind of like banning the haters. Blocking out the haters. It'll bite somebody in the ass. And it seems like this person's trying to tell this person this. It's like, look, that's going to come back to bite you. Makes me think as well of, I hang out in the live streams of a game company that they let a lot of stuff fly. Like it's an adult game, not like, it's not like porn or anything like, but it has adult themes, and it's, people in chat say a lot of stuff, like very tongue-in-cheek, very funny. And I've had a few comments that get flagged by the auto moderator, and it'll get flagged so that a real human moderator can look at it and say, yeah, we'll allow it, or we won't allow it. They always allow it. Because it's like, that's the community, right? Everybody's kind of matching the vibe. But if you went and said, acted that way in the community of a different game or a different fandom, who perhaps were a little bit more woke, a little bit more sensitive, you might get banned. So I don't know, like that seems to be what's happening there. It's like, people are angry because the world's on fire, and it's like, we don't want to hear that. Shut the door. No, we're just going to enjoy our nice, comfortable life. And it's like, okay, but I'm warning you, that's going to come back to bite you in your ass. Seems to be the message there. Growth underneath that as well. So it's kind of like, growth comes from embracing challenge, right? The fire creates new growth. Oh, the mirror as well, with the child in the portal and the mirrors. It's like somebody's, look as well, like the magician. It's like a street magician, right? It's like they can make magic happen, but they come from the streets. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna get a song to kind of close out this reading. I'm just pulling up Spotify, and hopefully Caution is currently playing by The Killers, so someone could get a caution. But I don't know. I think caution back. That again, there's no harm in a loud fool, though all they do is rail. The right people will get it, is the way it's coming through. Okay. Okay, the message for you guys is Alone Part 2 by Alan Walker and Ava Max. We were young, posters on the wall, praying we were the ones that the teacher wouldn't call. We'd stare at each other because we were always in trouble, and all the cool kids did their own thing. I was always on the outside looking in. This feels like it fits. Yeah, I was there, but I wasn't. They never really cared if I wasn't. We all need that someone. Yeah, oh my god, these two people, they are like peas in a pod, right? Like, it's like these two, the two with the two dogs or the two with the two dragons. We all need that someone who gets you like no one else, right when you need it the most. We all need a soul to rely on, a shoulder to cry on, a friend through the highs and the lows. I'm not going to make it alone. Then I saw your face, your forgiving eyes, looking back at me from the other side, like you understood me. I'm never letting you go. We all need that someone who, it repeats. I'm not gonna make it alone. Okay. One more song. Taxman by Kiki Rockwell. I love Kiki Rockwell. Such a vibe. I've given you all my love and it's time that you paid up, because I want what I am owed and I want what I am owed. I want what I'm owed, I want what I'm owed. It just repeats. Baby, I'm the taxman kicking down your door. I've shown you what I am. I wish you'd give a damn, because I want what I'm owed. Baby, I'm the taxman kicking down your door. I've sacrificed the lamb. I've toiled this sacred land. Oh my God. Yeah, I want what I'm owed. It's like I'm at your door now. Come on, pay up. Your comfortable life is to me another 11 as well there. I've toiled this sacred land because I want what I'm owed. Yeah, and it just repeats. I don't know. She's turning up with flowers. She's like, here's your flowers, pay me. And then she leaves with money. I don't know. Good for her. I'm going to leave it there. Again, totally random reading. Came out of the blue. I need to go and do my sweat lodge now and do my yoga and get in the shower. I hope this was helpful to someone. I hope it reaches whoever needed to hear it. And yeah, I'm going to see if this pops up in a game that I'm playing or a TV show that I'm watching or something like that. Take care of your faces, hug your friends, and I will see you again soon. Bye.